Boys.
Yes.
Yes.
100 episodes. The century mark.
Dang.
When we started this out, we were going to have some fun. We were going to talk to some authors we respect, hang out together, drink a little bit.
Drink.
Exceed our expectations. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Who knew that this was going to last this long? And we're growing exponentially on all the views throughout the podcast verse. So,
I go back sometimes and I look at like our first couple interviews and we've grown tremendously in style and
hey, I've remained sober for I think everyone post Greaney.
What? Come on. We'll have to.
That's a great episode.
Reel on that one. No, I know when we started this thing, we didn't even know how to get a video on the internet. So to say that we're at this stage now is kind of goes against what I even believed in what we could accomplish. So, but yeah, I mean, in the industry is really latched on to what we've done. And I think we've actually seeded a lot of other podcasts and episodes that have kind of followed on after the fact. So the idea was solid.
I'm proud of what we've done, but I'll tell you, I'm really thrilled with the friendships we've made, the great people we've met, the new authors we've been exposed to that I don't think any of us ever would have picked up if we hadn't, started this show.
Yeah, that's right.
And honestly, I didn't expect to have two of my best friends ever because of a podcast.
Right.
Exactly. I know, isn't that ridiculous? I know. I was talking to Shauna recently. There was a study that said, most men or most people in general don't make friends, 40, 50 plus.
Yeah.
But here I've made two best friends.
Yeah, for sure. Salute.
Well, if Mary leaves me and I have to get remarried, you guys are in the wedding party. So
yeah.
Oh, we get to pick out who too.
Hopefully it'll just be a renewal of vows.
Yes. But to that point of some of the friendships we've created and people we've met, none of those things happen without putting the show together and promoting authors and talking to them and reading their books. Getting some really good insight into the industry and into the writing process in general. Right. It's been an awesome trip.
And whoever has tried this avenue and tried this medium will tell you that this is a lot of hard work and a lot of financial investment and a ton of time. So the fact that we've put such hard work into it, we've kind of seen the fruits of our labors especially this past 6 months or so.
Yeah.
And we don't see any slowing down. So that's great for the industry. That's super for us in terms of kind of a little bit of reward for all the hard work and effort that we put in. And the ability to stay together. Like you look at bands, they don't usually hang out for more than 6 months. So the fact that we can all work together so well and put such a great product out there, we're lucky.
I'm really glad we didn't let Yoko co-host. I think that would have ended badly.
That was on our table for next meeting.
But no, guys, here's to a bunch more great thrillers, bunch more great mysteries, horror, and storytellers of all kind.
Yep. Right.
And here's to 100 more episodes.
All right. Salud.
First, let's welcome everybody.
Yeah.
We want to welcome and thank you guys to the 100 Crew Reviews interview episode extravaganza.
100
crazy pants.
And the man who's responsible for all this is now down the bottom right corner of my screen, Mr. David Brown.
Yes, he is. David Brown suggested this. David Brown suggested this at the bar. We must raise.
Don't blame me for that.
Your fault. Your fault.
So we have Mr. Nick Petrie, Mr. Don Bentley, Mrs. Meg Gardiner,
yes,
Mr. Mark Greaney, and Mr. David Brown, and my co-host Mike Houts and Chris Albanese, and we are thrilled to be celebrating 100 episodes with you guys.
Yeah,
amazing.
That's a good
thrilled and humbled that you guys would you actually said yes to our invite.
It's 100 episodes in 3 years, two and a half,
two and a quarter-ish,
2 1/4,
2 1/4,
somewhere around there.
Right?
Pretty religiously. A show every Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe
about
3 or 4 total, I think. But,
yeah.
And this. Well, I was going to say when we started that we didn't anticipate COVID, but as this, we kind of got rolling right around the time that hit. And so when the whole market changed in terms of how you guys go out there and promote your incredible works, we were kind of set for what was already happening. So in that respect, well, if there's any silver lining to a deadly virus worldwide, I guess from a marketing standpoint, we were really ready for what now seems to be kind of a big part of what you guys do for your book promotions. And I don't really know if we're going to go back to that old model again.
Yeah. It'll be a hybrid, I think. We appreciate you guys being here and doing this. I mean,
big time.
It's actually opened it up in so many ways. I mean, it would be rare, we'd have to go to a conference for me and Nick and Mark to be able to do this because we're, spread out so far geographically, but this is amazing.
And David, how has this changed your work environment? Because this really impacts what you and your department do on a day-to-day basis. So how did kind of our show and some of the follow-ons really change the way you do business?
Well, and first, for those who don't know David, tell us what you do.
David Brown, I do publicity for Atria Books, and I run the Atria Mystery Bus Twitter feed. So anyone who is watching or listening that doesn't follow Atria Mystery Bus, please do.
Right.
The only reason I appear on these things is just to get more followers. It's true. But the first time I ever heard of Zoom was before the pandemic, and it was with the crew reviews. I had never even heard of it before you started using it for...
We didn't either.
For your platform.
Honestly, we had no idea.
So you were about 40 shows in before you knew what you're doing anyway, right?
We're almost there.
140.
Thanks to you, I was ahead of the game. I was already familiar with Zoom, but the pandemic opened up new opportunities. Of course, it closed doors, for a long time. Yeah. Literally, bookstores were closed and we couldn't do events, and we're just starting to get back out there. But it's kind of opened new doors and new ways of promotions and things like Meg said. It's going to stick around. It's always going to be hybrid from now on. So as far as book promotion and marketing, good things came out of the pandemic.
Right. And Mark, you've been at this a long time now. I mean, that's a good thing. So, I mean, you probably have a long rear view mirror in terms of where things started when you first, made it into the industry. Mm-hmm. And we've kind of talked about what it's happening now, but where do you see this kind of going forward, do you think?
Well, first, back in my day, we didn't have ring lights. We didn't have computers. We didn't have computers. We would just basically look through a window at one another. I would just give my fans I first got published in 2009. So the industry has changed so much in so many ways since I first got my book deal or whatever. My first couple of books, I literally did nothing. I mean, my publisher, obviously, they sent me to kind of like independent bookstore conferences in the Southeast where I live. And it was sort of me and five like Southern based authors that are all, having very Southern based stories. And then I'd get up and read my excerpt about a guy in Sudan getting shot in the back with an arrow. And, it was but I mean, that was the opportunity that I had then. And it was great to have that. But then, as things have gone on, your tours get a little bit bigger and a lot better. But, when this happened, when COVID hit, I had just finished, my book had just come out. I had just finished a totally, normal 10 city or something book tour and gone to a conference. And then COVID locked everything down. And I remember thinking that was in end of February 20. Yeah. And I remember thinking, wow, I got really lucky because all these other authors are having to do this virtual stuff. And I'm so lucky that I won't have to worry about that. Of course, the next year I sat right where I'm sitting right now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like, this thing could last a month. This is awful.
Hey, Mark, can we just pause for a second? You just blew my mind. You're like, when I got my first book published in 2009, and that's not a long time ago.
No.
And your career has exploded in so many different ways, man. Cheers. I mean, you got that the deal with the it's Amazon
audio.
Oh yeah, you have the armored audio book. Like, dude, you have so much going on, man. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it feels like a whirlwind, and it feels like a hamster on a wheel, cranking them out. But it's nice when you're done with the book and you can sort of like take a 10-second victory lap in between writing the next two things.
And Don, you kind of got started right when things were kind of, even you were ready to kick off and you were ready to kind of launch, and then bang. So what in your mind were you thinking, oh my God, like the worst luck in the world, like you finally had it all and then it was just kind of ripped out from underneath you right off the get-go?
Yeah, I'm definitely the newbie on this group, and I was lucky enough that I got part of a book tour, so I got a couple fun things that came out of it before it all locked down. But what was really cool for me is that so when Target Acquired came out in June, we actually did a live event that was hybrid. So there's a local bookstore here in Georgetown, which is just north of Austin. And so they had me and a bunch of people, and then Mark was good enough to call in. And so they had a television screen with Mark, a live audience, and then Mark asked me questions and we talked back and forth and the audience could do it. And so it was super cool. And I think Meg or somebody was alluding to that before, the hybrid things. Like, I would love to see that going forward, because it gets, and again, like I'm the newbie, so there aren't tons of people coming to see me, but it's cool when there's somebody else that calls in, because I've had a ton of fun over COVID getting to talk to Mark and Nick and all kinds of awesome authors and stuff. And so it's been really neat. And I really hope that kind of hybrid thing keeps going forward, because the book tours, like, again, from my perspective, I'm a newbie. A book tour is something you look forward to. I can't tell you how many times I went down to Book People and saw the Meg Gardiner down there holding court and doing.
You're so kind to come out.
One day.
Go on, just bring it up.
Hey Nick,
I don't know. I'd like to see both. Yeah. But what do you? I mean, Meg, you're a veteran too. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, I think it is going to be a mix. I mean, not everybody has the time or the ability to travel. It's wonderful. I mean, it's so wonderful to get out, meet the booksellers, meet the readers, get around. It's extremely exhausting too, as it's a privilege to be exhausted doing that. But seeing how stuff like this, like Zooms has just expanded it. I mean, I did sitting in my office at home, I did events with the book festival in Sydney. I did a Zoom with a Malaysian podcast. That's awesome. And it's great for so many people can't afford or don't have the mobility to travel, but they can watch something and see authors talking that they wouldn't be able to come to a national conference. They wouldn't be able to get up the stairs to someplace to get in, but they can watch. And it has opened it up to a lot of people to take part, even from their homes. So it's great.
And Nick, when you first started, you were doing a lot of book tours and that sort of thing, but then were you really talking to other authors very often? I mean,
not as much. The tour that I really did with a lot of other people was for the Memphis book, and Mark was kind enough to host me at Novel, which is, if you guys have ever been, is a fantastic bookstore in Memphis. And I was really, like, I sort of made a point to reach out to people that I wanted to talk to, who I knew were sort of local at that spot, because book tour for me is about, when you write full time, you spend a lot of time by yourself, and you sort of forget who you're writing for, and being able to talk to real readers. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not just shouting this craziness into the void, and also talking to other authors where it's so wonderful to know other people who share your disease, where we are not we are crazy, but we're crazy in kind of a specific way, and it really helps to know other people who are like us.
Right.
And we face sort of the same challenges, and we bounce questions off each other. So, I mean, I love the in-person stuff because it's hard to have a beer with somebody after the event if, they're in Austin and you're in Milwaukee. But, I agree. And as to what Meg said, I think it's wonderful that readers can tune in. I think people who might be reluctant to, put on their pants and go out into the cold and go, hear some, random writer at a bookstore that they may or may not have ever been to, but are happy to, open up the laptop and click a link and just to see what a book event is really like, right? I think we did get some people who were new to that process. Yeah. And my new book's out in January, and I'm just hoping to God that I get to go, meet people. And I do love this. I'm more than happy to do Zoom stuff. Because you can do more events, you can reach more people, you can talk to more people. But for me, the in-person stuff really is what kind of feeds me.
Yeah.
What I got out of that answer is that, do you have pants on, Nick?
Wait here. I can,
No.
Does anybody?
There was something that happened at CNN.
It's a mannequin.
So when we started the show, again, we had no idea. We weren't thinking 100 episodes. We were thinking, can we get 3 guests scheduled? David. So,
thank you, David. Yeah. 3 of them were like, now what?
But what we found, we've read a lot of books that we wouldn't have read. We've discovered a lot of authors that we would not have discovered. We've had 3-timers on the show, like Mark, Mr. Greaney. Don would have been, except for he had a typo on page 137. So it's but we
it's important to have standards.
What?
Inside jokes are always so good for
well, everybody knows it's on Twitter. But anyway, but like, for instance, I'd read Unsub by Meg. So it was positioned for her second book. But then what I did was I went back and read a couple of her earlier books to get ready for the interview, because we did not want to be unprepared for the interview. So we tried way more books than I ever thought I would read in my life. But this all leads to a question. For me, the genre is really healthy right now. There are all sorts of subgenres within it, and they all seem to be thriving in different ways. And there's a lot of really original voices in, and there's a lot of people taking what you might think would be a common story and executing it in a way that makes it fresh and original. And everybody here, and I'm not just blowing smoke, everybody here falls into that category. Mm-hmm. But I want to know what you guys think of the genre right now. And at the end of that, tell me at least one author that people aren't reading enough. And I'll start with you, Meg.
Wow, you just had to start with me. I think the genre is big and growing. It's going through some growing pains, along with publishing, with all the changes. Mm-hmm. I think you're absolutely right. There are some, brilliant big authors who have been entertaining and enlightening us for decades, and thank God they're still around and writing at the top of their games. And there's this whole new, like wide open world of newer writers, and it's just fantastic to see everybody come on board. It's because it just opens it all up to us as readers as well as writers, and it challenges us in the best ways to evaluate our own work and to raise our game, to see like how, are we being fresh? Are the stories as big and deep and exciting and emotionally satisfying as we can possibly make them? How can we look over the horizon and see, the larger world up close, as you like to do in books? Who have I been reading that I would say? Well, what I'm reading right now actually is the short stories. It's the Best American Mystery and Suspense of 2020, which just came out a week or two ago. And
that's not this one.
You got it?
This was a different one. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, this Best American Mystery and Suspense, which is edited by Steph Cha, and she's a fantastic writer. If you haven't read her her work. She's just really brilliant. So I would recommend her. It's guest edited by Alifair Burke, who is this year's president of Mystery Writers of America. And she's super sharp. And she's just like one of those slackers who like has a day job as a tenured criminal law professor and, you know, then writes bestsellers on the side and all that. So
I got to tell you, we read lots of novels and everything, but we've talked to some authors who do short stories, and I've really never read that many short stories. But in the last 2 years, I've read a ton of short stories and realized that is an awesome thing. I mean, you were talking about. I thought you were going to talk about this one, but I'm going through this one by the best mystery stories of the year that was edited by Lee Child, and. And it invigorates me as a writer. And at the same time, when I read all your guys' stuff, and then I read this stuff, and I go, man, I suck, but I want to level myself. I want to get better.
Short stories are hard. Short stories are difficult.
No, but it's a great way to learn skills. So if you're a beginning writer writing short stories, you can experiment and you can fail quickly. Let's put it that way.
You get to do everything that you do in a novel. You just do it more concisely, and you can do 5 of those. I wrote some novellas. My first book took me 15 years to write, and right in the middle of it, it was just this albatross around my neck. I just pushed it aside and then wrote like 3 100-page stories, and then I went back to my novel, and it was easier, and I had something under my belt. It wasn't published, it wasn't even read, but I mean, that shorter fiction, you need all the exact same chops that you need in the longer form. So it's a really good thing.
I'm fascinated to hear you say that, Mark, because that's what I did when I was struggling. Well, I had 3 small children at home, and I was trying to write this novel, which I eventually finished and put in a drawer, thank God, because it would have been a disaster.
Same thing.
But I was so stuck on it. I said, I have to finish something. So I set it aside and I wrote a short story. I said, I'm just going to get to the words, the end. And then I know I can do it.
Yeah. So, and then go back and edit it and all those things that you might be years out from doing another book. Yeah. That's interesting that you did that.
Yeah.
David,
I write short stories. They're tweets. And they do help me keep and be concise. All that to say, I don't belong here with these writers.
Yes, you do.
You absolutely do. And David, I was going to ask you. So I want to know what you think the state of the thriller industry is, and try to limit your authors we should be reading to 17 because you're a publicist. So if we can keep that.
The state of the industry, the state of the industry is strong, and I think it's becoming a little bit more experimental. I'm seeing a lot of genre melding going on, which is fun, and it's creating more and more subgenres, or just expanding the genre. What I miss about the industry is seeing everybody. That was the strongest point or part of what I loved about this community is that everyone is so nice, and they get together and they support each other. And BoucherCon and Thriller Fest is like a family reunion twice a year, and I miss getting together with people. Who should people be reading? Well, first, Chris Lottie, Deep State is so good, and not enough people have read it. There are just so many twists and turns. It's not long, and it goes so fast.
Goes really fast.
I recommend, but there are two. Eric Story wrote a couple of books, and he was like the character was like a redneck Mitch Rapp, and the first 2 books were so good, and he stopped writing. And I feel like if more people read it,
somebody will
write
find
more. And the same with Christine Carbo. Her books were there are about 4 or 5 of them taking place at Glacier National Park, and it's a great series, and I want more of them, so more people have to read it. So
she was on the show. We loved having her.
Huge fan of hers. She has a very distinct voice that stands out, and nature is definitely a character in all her books. So
I am writing this down. Christine Carbo.
Carbo.
I think she was episode like 14 on our show.
Yeah, pretty early on.
Yeah, she was an awesome guest, awesome writer. goes without saying.
So Don, what about you? State of the industry, author we should be reading?
Yeah, I think, and I was kind of being a little bit facetious about it before, but I think my biggest thing, the industry for new writers is so incredibly welcoming and so supportive. And I really have, like, I can't tell you how many times I went down to Book People to see Meg or to see Jeff Abbott or to see some of the local Texas writers. And Meg can write, like, if
Joke.
obviously, but Unsub is fantastic.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Mark Greaney has been, like, the opening scene of Gray Man is one of my favorites, bar none, for everyone. And Nick does such a beautiful job with language and stuff. And so I feel like I went from being like fanboy to these people actually being kind enough to either do events with me or things like that. And so it's just been incredible. You know, there are the thing, I don't know if it's unique to this genre. I'm not wide enough written to say that, but it never feels like it, like I said, from the perspective of a newcomer, that this genre is something that's exclusive or the people that are doing very well are not welcoming to new people. It's been the opposite of that from my perspective. And to see writers that you worshiped and wanted to be like when you were trying to figure out how to do this, be so welcoming, has been incredible. As far as writers to watch or to read, and I'm a little bit biased because he's a fellow Texas boy, but I think Taylor Moore is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And so Downrange is his debut novel. It's incredible. I'm a Texas transplant, so I guess I'm one of those guys they call all hat, no cattle, but he is the real deal. He grew up in Texas, actually has the cred to go with it. And that book is just fantastic. And it does such a good job of, number one, telling a story about Texas and the beauty of Texas, and then really taking what's a traditional in this genre. What's so great about this genre is it has room to experiment and do different things. And he takes what you think is going to start and be a very stereotypical thriller-esque story, and he really turns it into something different. And so that book is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a family novel, really. I mean, that novel's all about family. The action is, tied into that. Mark, what about you? State of the industry and an author we should be reading?
Yeah, I don't know the state of the industry. I feel like it's strong. I mean, we all just sort of have our little soda straw view of what's going on. I'll say that just with the expanse of television in the past 20 years and streaming movies and all that kind of stuff, not just because I'm involved with it, but in a general sense, like, when book sales were really going down vis-a-vis electronic a few years ago, every interview I did, I would be asked the question, like, is the industry dying and all this other stuff? And I would always say, I mean, people want stories just as much as they've ever wanted stories, if not actually more than ever. So, if you're a storyteller, you'll find your way, whether, it's the traditional way that people have been doing it for forever, or if it's new ways. So I feel like the industry is probably strong for what I know. As far as authors, so I've read a couple of books for blurbs. So the books haven't even come out yet, and so I don't even know if I should say, because I don't even know the release dates of these books. But I read one probably 4 or 5 months ago by this guy named Josh Weiss, who we actually have the same agent. So I was asked to read it and see what I thought. And it's so different from anything that I write. So it's not like me putting my seal of approval. If you like me, you'll like him or whatever. But it's just this brilliant alternative history, kind of noirish Los Angeles, California in the 50s crime caper thriller that I was so sucked into. And with everything going on in my life, it can take me weeks to get through a book, especially if it's, for a blurb or whatever. And I think I did that one in 2 days. Wow. And so, I hope he does well. It'll be his first book. I think the guy's like 23 years old or something like that. I don't know. But I hate it.
That's not cool.
I hate him already.
Not cool.
Let babies publish.
So I don't like him, but I mean, I think he's very good at what he does. No, I think he'll do well. I also have to say my buddy Josh Hood, his Treadstone books are really, really good. They're just a lot of fun to read.
Yeah. We have Josh on the show and we have to bleep out every other word. So,
well, sometimes.
All right, Nick, you're last up on the round. What do you think of the genre right now, and who should we be reading?
Well, I guess I'm kind of, with Mark, I I only see my little corner of it, right? So I'm not sure I have a 30,000 foot view, but there's, what I love is how something that, is ostensibly, sort of a similar book, right? If you look at it from the outside, some stuff is so dense and atmospheric. Other stuff is, dialogue rich and flies forward. I love how you can do so many different kinds of things, and still be welcomed. It is a pretty big tent.
It is.
I am always surprised. And I read somebody who, I kind of put in I sort of think I know who they are and what they do. And then they'll write something and it'll just, kind of knock me back. Michael Connelly's, a legend and rightly so. His latest Lincoln Lawyer book is the first thing I've seen that has that COVID is a part of the book. And it's not a big part of the book. It's sort of happening. The book happened sort of before and at the very beginning of COVID, but his character is pulled over and it turns out there's a body in his trunk. So he's a lawyer trying to defend himself from prison.
Yep.
At the same time, the reader can sort of feel COVID closing in. So we are feeling him in prison, while at the same time we're imagining ourselves approaching the prison of quarantine, right?
Yeah.
And it's very subtle, but it's super powerful. And it really made me see him in a whole different way. And he's done a bunch of different kinds of things. But that book really kind of knocked my socks off. Not that he's a new writer.
No, but
he always writes fresh though.
He really does. He's always got an interesting, different take. There are people who really could be phoning it in who are really not phoning it in.
Yeah.
Right.
And I really admire that. I really admire sort of watching the old guard do what they do and still really knock it out of the park. And seeing newer folks again. I'm actually reading old stuff. Trying to think about what I've got up on my little favorites here. No, I don't know. I'm reading.
He's like, that's all crap back there.
Well, one of them's yours there, Mark.
Who's that Greaney guy?
I had that coming.
Yeah, there's Bentley right there, the famous torso.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome, Don.
Yeah. Sorry, Meg, you're downstairs. You're in the living room.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the one cool thing. The one cool thing about the show is we get to read the established authors who are like gods in a sense. And, we've all read for years and years. And then we get the new ones like the Sean Cosbys, and you read them and you're just blown away by the stuff that just comes out.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, and to your point about Michael Connelly, we talk about that a lot. His latest, which I think I'm the only one that has a copy of there.
Yeah, you
jerk.
Is in my opinion, it's one of his top 2 or 3 Bosch books. And it's
crazy.
Like you said, he could mail it in easy. He could easily phone it in and cash the check. I think the series reinvigorated him a bit too. I think that a whole new audience found Bosch, and it was like, okay, but it is so impressive and so humbling, for us. And to your other point about inclusiveness, this is a great example of how inclusive this industry is. There is no good reason for you guys to be on the show, honestly. And yet you
wait
are.
A minute, I don't have to be here?
No. And yet you are.
And there were tacos. Are there not tacos?
We've gotten yeses. We've gotten yeses from 99% of the people we've asked to be on the show, and then when they get on the show, they're very open to our insanity. Most of them. There's a couple people I think looked at us a little crosswise, but
you guys don't take yourselves too seriously, right? I mean, you are obviously having fun, and it helps people who are doing this, who show up. It helps us to have fun, and this can be when you're in that book promo moment when your book is coming out. It can get old. There's some long days. There are the radio interview day,
those are fun
when you're doing 15 5-minute talk radio slots. Like that's fun.
That sounds fun.
It's challenging to always be alert and awake and cheerful and ready to go, and so this is it's kind of a whole different animal, and it's part of why I think we all appreciate you so much, because you're you guys too have sort of a new take on how this could be.
That was the whole thing, Nick. I mean, we in general, author interviews or book reviews are kind of boring, at least when we looked at them. They could be boring. Some of the questions, no offense to the publishers and publicists, but sometimes you get canned questions to ask the author, and everybody's asking those. And so we don't want to just ask those canned questions. We want to go a little bit deeper, but at the same time, we also want to have a little bit of fun and make it interesting, not just to you, the author, because we're trying to spotlight you, but for the people who are listening to the show, because it's easy just to turn the dial. I mean, attention spans are so short right now.
I really appreciate being asked to wear pants. I mean, it's like, I think
there's one demand that we have.
Just one.
I'm sorry.
So Mark, over the top, you guys.
I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, I tune into crew reviews if there's somebody that I know that's going to be on there, because it's just like, four of my friends sitting in a room chatting, and you kind of feel like you're there a little bit. And then when I'm on the show, it feels like, four people just hanging out. So as he said, that's exactly the case. It's not a typical just sort of like back and forth interview thing. It's more like you're just kind of sitting at a table with guys that and hang out with. And the hour goes pretty quick. I always have this thing in the back of my head. It's like, I'm going to say something stupid. I'm going to hear about it. It's like, I'm going to say something and go like, oh my God, I just said that out loud, because it's like, I know I'll get back. I probably gossip to all of you, off camera, but I'm so paranoid. I need to have like sort of like cattle prod that I get zapped with.
Mark. Go ahead, Nick.
I came up with an author who everybody should be reading. Kristen LaPianca. Her first is called The Last Place You Look, and it is definitely a new take on the PI thing. Bisexual woman in Cleveland or Cincy, Cleveland, I think.
Kristen's from Ohio, so one of those. I think.
The last I don't know 50 pages are just utterly harrowing, and her voice is fantastic, and I think she's now 4 books in. So good. I got to add a new name.
Okay, got it down.
Just wrote that down. I just want to make a point real quick that Mark, you were talking about, you're going to say something and you're like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't have said that. We've had several guests on, and we had one in particular, and David Brown knows about it, where he immediately got on the phone with us or email or whatever, and was like, you need to take that down immediately.
But do you ever watch, not to dime him out, but I will, but if you ever watch Brad Taylor, like Elaine is standing on the other side of that computer. And so you can see when
he has the cattle prod.
Yeah. There was one time when Brad, since you brought him up, there was one time he was sitting here talking, he goes, what? Oh yeah, we can't talk about it.
But it's always interesting when we stop recording and we get some really juicy things.
Well, from all of you in the bar too, though. At BoucherCon, she's like, Brad, you can't talk about that. You can't talk about that.
We love that group.
We wait for her to go.
So funny story about, like, you talking about, it's really even us, things that happen on the camera with us. When Mark was first on, I was hyped because I'm a huge Gray Man guy, and it was his first time on the show, and we had our interview, and then afterwards we kind of hung out and talked off camera for a while. Well, I drink fast, whether it's water, coffee, whatever, and I'm just pounding bourbon without even realizing it. And I'm absolutely blasted. So we do the intro. We usually record the intro at the end of the show. And after everybody's gone home, then we do the intro. Well, I was incapable of but they still made me try to do the intro.
We recorded that shit.
I got all
25 minutes. I mean, the world saw like 5 minutes of it or whatever, but there was 25 minutes of just really embarrassing hilarity. But I was, at the time, I was working as a
you begged us not to put it on.
I was working for a small private Christian school as a development director, and I was like, guys, we can't put that on.
We're so putting it on. We're so putting it on.
And then I made the decision to leave that job, and so I was like, yeah, screw it, put it on. It's fine. Like, they're not going to watch it. They're not going to tune into the show, and if they do, they won't stay to the end. But that was legendary. I don't know.
Yeah, you were trashed. It was so funny. But hey, Meg, so you what are you why don't you tell us about like a current work in progress that you're working on, or your latest release, or something you're excited about that's just over the horizon?
Well, book 3 in the Unsub series is out now in paperback, and that is The Dark Corners of the Night.
Yeah.
Unsub 4 is in the can and will be coming next year, along with another project that I have just finished up, the most insane edits of, whatever,
really?
which will be announced very soon. And that's, I hate that the whole secret project.
Yeah.
I've had
I mean, you could tell us. I mean, yeah.
No one watches this show.
That's on there. I'm waiting for that to go off. Yeah. So, but it will be. There's another book coming out next summer, and that's going to be announced fairly soon. And it's a big book, and I'm like super excited about everything.
Is there any news on the Unsub stuff, like television or?
Can't give you any news on that right now. Sorry. I know
no, that's all right.
That tells us a lot, though. We know.
That tells us a lot.
I'm starring in everything. You guys are all getting killed off.
As you should. As you should. So Don, you had a fantastic book this year, Target Acquired, in page 137, which yours truly appears in. Thank you very much for throwing me in the book. I thank you for that. My wife doesn't. She goes, it is a work of fiction. In the Tom Clancy Target Acquired, he lists me as Jack Ryan Jr.'s. Is Chris Albany's Secret Service agent, helps Jack Ryan Jr. learn how to shoot properly.
And we know
how fiction. Bad that is. It's truth. But what do you got on? What's going on? What are you working on? Because you got 2 series right now. What can you tell us?
So first, going back to that, apparently, judging by all the comments on your Facebook page when you posted that, it should have been your wife that was his marksman.
We're going to beep that out instead of totally just everything you just said is getting beeped out. But go on.
You should be happy. Yes, too, because you get to be Jack Ryan's marksmanship instructor while Nick Petrie is Matt Drake's drunk football coach from middle school. So you could be the drunk football coach.
Appropriate.
So this year I've got I just finished edits for Hostile Intent, which comes out in May of 2022. Awesome. And then I'm frantically doing the as of yet untitled next Jack Ryan Jr. book, which is due in December, and it comes out in June. So those are the 2 this year. And I just have to say, because this is how much Mark Greaney can crush your hopes and dreams, even when he's being kind, is that when I went and started writing full time, I told my wife, and I'd heard somewhere that Mark writes 2,000 words a day. And so I'm like, I'm going to be Mark Greaney. Like, I'm going to write 2,000 words a day.
God
and there were a couple days, like, I crept up to that, and I'm like, I feel so good. And then Mark was kind enough to come to the Target Acquired book launch tour, and somebody asked him, and he's like, on a slow day, I write 2,000, but most days I write 3,000. And that was just that. Like for a brief shining moment, I thought I could, and then it's just no.
So Don, you will always be Don Bentley. You will never be Mark Greaney.
Never.
Mark has
Greaney.
that effect on me too. I just would like to say that I counted that like I think Mark publishes twice as many or 4 times as many pages as I do in a given year. So yeah, I feel your pain. I feel
that is a self-inflicted wound. Everybody's like, "Do you like writing long books?" I'm like, "No, I just can't get to the end of these dang things." And then after a while, if all your books are 160,000 words, the year I turn in a 90,000 word book, everybody's going to get mad. So I'm a victim of my own circumstance.
Well, speaking of 90,000 words, what do you got? What's going on? You have lots going on, but what can you tell us?
I mean, I have 4 releases coming up. Can I mention them all very super briefly?
Yes, do it.
Yeah. So I have my first Audible original audio play, which I just had to do promotion for that, and I had to say, I'm the author of the Audible original audio play. Available now only on Audible. I tried that like 30 times with the camera crew in my face, and I finally got it. But it's hard to say. Anyway,
wait, how many times did you do it?
At least a dozen. Seriously, at least a dozen. I forgot who I was at one point. but that comes out December 9th, and it's a live. I mean, it's a full cast audio drama, so they have music and special effects and all that. It's so cool. I heard the first clips of it day before yesterday and was so excited because they got good actors. In fact, the guy who's the narrator of the Gray Man series, his name is Jay Snyder. He plays like one of the awesome. Not a major character, but not the lead in this. That's awesome. So that's pretty cool. So that comes out December 9th, and I can't wait for that to come out. And then February 15th, my 11th Gray Man book is called Sierra 6, and it will be out.
Oh, yeah, baby.
And then
speaking of not phoning it in, Mark.
No.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm looking forward to that book. That's gonna be
I don't have the talent to phone it in. Like phoning it in sounds like an amazing thing. I wish I'd be a phoner inner in 2 seconds if I could pull that off. But I have to put all my energies into things. And then in late spring or summer, the Netflix film from my first novel, The Gray Man, will come out. And there's no date yet, but that's just what I'm hearing.
Awesome.
Low budget thing.
Yeah, a little low budget. Yeah.
No name actors.
No name.
They didn't give it all to me. They didn't give that whole budget to me.
Hey, do you do a cameo in it? Please tell me.
I do not. No, I don't.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm not appearing in that film. No, I played the part of the Audi A8. That's me. It's a sort of transformer. No, I'm not in that. And then July 5th, I have another book coming out, which is Armored, which is the sort of the same story as what's coming out as an Audible original, but it's a much expanded novel, as I have a tendency to do. So it's the part of a new series. So that the first book in that series will be out July 5th.
Dang!
Wow!
And you wrote all of those over what period of time?
I don't even know. I mean, the Gray Man film, I wrote that book in 2007. Right. So it's kind of, I write 2 books a year. So when all this is going on next year, I still have to write the same number of words that I did this year. But
and he coaches soccer, and
I do.
And he gets married, and he travels to Hawaii.
I mean, I don't get married every year.
It looked like a lot of fun, though.
How about next year?
Yeah, do it again.
So Nick was the first one on the show before everybody else got on, and we made a comment that we just got his most recent book. It's 120 pages, 6-point font, single space,
easy reading.
But Peter, one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite series. So Nick, what can we expect in the latest Peter Ash novel?
Well, it takes place in rural Nebraska and South Dakota, and it is a tale of sex, obsession, jealousy, and murder.
Ooh, so it's a congressional hearing.
It's autobiographical.
Yeah.
No, it's a little bit more personal than there's no kind of end of the worldy stuff. It's kind of a smaller, more intimate story. But I did just get a Kirkus Star review for it.
Awesome, dude.
Good
Congrats,
job.
man.
Which makes me very happy, and my publisher's pretty enthusiastic about it. So I'm very happy about that. And I've got the next Peter Ash that is let's just pretend it's flying out of my fingertips.
Yeah. Working title is the title is almost the last thing for me. Or I come up with 15 and my publisher says we don't like any of them. So there's that. But it is I will tell you that it starts with Lewis.
Oh,
love Lewis.
Yeah, no kidding.
Lewis. So Lewis will be less of a henchman and more of a lead character. It'll be a Lewis and Peter book.
Oh, awesome.
I like that direction, man. Can't wait to read that. So David Brown, Atria Mystery Busman yourself, Atria Publishing, Emily Bestler Books. What's coming out that we can expect to buy?
Well, you'll get the latest from all your favorites like Vince Flynn, Kyle Mills, Brad Thor, Chris Hawley, Jack Carr. And then some new. Oh, you know who we have this year is Stephen Hunter. Did his first book for Emily Bestler.
Yes, yes.
He's great.
Yeah, so
He's
his
terrific.
next Bob Lee Swagger is coming in January.
There it is. Mike is holding it up.
It's on top of my list.
Thank you, Mike. And then I'm sure he'll be on with the crew.
We'd love to.
In 2022. And then we'll have some surprises, new books, new authors. And, a guy you all know, and I don't know how you know him, but I like to say he came to the Atria Mystery Bus meetup at Thriller Fest, but the meetup was in the bar, so he just came to the bar. But you knew all of you. Adam Hamdy.
Yeah, we know Adam. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
What about Adam? He was on the show.
Yeah, he's who I was thinking of when I was talking about experimental and genre bit.
Yeah, he's awesome.
That's coming out next fall. It's going to be his U.S. Solo debut because he's written with James Patterson. So this will be his U.S. Solo debut.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because he's a UK writer. He does the Capital Crime Convention over in the UK, and he's written 2 books now, I think, with James Patterson.
But his Black 13.
Black 13, yeah.
Fantastic book. If you guys haven't read Black 13, it's
mine's signed by Adam.
Mine too.
He's awesome.
Go off.
Yeah,
All right, so first of all, I want to thank you all for coming on again. Just second thank you, but also if you are so inclined to be the interviewer, you're welcome to ask Chris and Mike any question you want to know.
Chris or Mike, not Sean.
My audio just went out. What?
Yeah. Go ahead. Give me one question.
Don looks like he's got a question on the tip of his tongue.
I got a question. I mean, you guys trumpet the number of guests that you've had, and rightly so. But I'm wondering if you could tell us the number of cease and desist letters that you've received as well. Like what just ballpark?
Absolutely.
2 from and they're Goldbergs.
No. There is a funny story that I would be happy to tell you off air.
There is a legitimate one, kind of.
Yes.
Still don't understand it.
It wasn't no, it was hell no. Is that what you're saying?
It was seriously.
No, it was yes. It was yes, and then it was.
And then it was.
We told you no. Can you take a no? And I was like, sure. You had told me no, but anyway, so we just gracefully stepped back. It was a very odd circumstance that I still don't understand.
You still don't.
But then Mark is still on here, so I guess he got over it.
Well, Allison said, give him another chance.
Yeah.
Allison, you will go on. By the way, so we have an intro. I don't know if you've seen it. We put together this ad for the crew reviews, still funny. But Allison actually goes, this is my Mark Greaney. But
that's my wife, by the way. Just
yeah. That's the best one.
She slipped into the room while Sean Cameron was getting drunk, and so they put her on.
Yeah.
He gets drunk every show.
Sober.
No, I don't know. Nick Petrie's wife ratting him out right on the camera about.
Oh, a story of my life, man. That's just pretty much how it rolls here.
Nick's wife really gave me a gift, and that was she was talking about she had to learn that sometimes standing over the coffee maker with the coffee cup staring into space was writing. And she had to realize that. And so I showed that to my wife because she doesn't watch the show. Why would she want to watch it? And I showed that to my wife. She's like, yeah. And she's like,
Hey, Don, did you know I was at your last in-person before COVID started?
Oh, yeah, in Virginia. Yeah.
In Virginia, right down the road.
That's right. That was good.
I showed up, gave you some support, and then you wrote me in a book. I appreciate that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, page 137.
All right,
I
have a lightning round question. Can I ask my question?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so Chris, Sean, and Mike are all writers. So this is just a cheesy question that I get asked all the time, and so you get it.
Sure.
Think of whatever your work in progress is or whatever you're most proud of. Tell me who, if you got a TV show or a movie or some sort of thing like that, who would your lead character be played by? And you don't have to say why or anything. It just will give everybody sort of like a vision of what you're writing.
Chris, you go.
Oh my God. I hadn't thought about that.
This is where Chris says me.
And congratulations to Chris.
Yeah, how about it, right? You have to call him the master now, by the way.
Yeah, I actually make my kids call me Grandmaster. A lot of good it does. It's still not published, but still won an award.
Tell everybody what it is. Yeah, I mean, that's huge, dude.
So when I left the Secret Service, I made a promise to myself that I would, because I've always wanted to be a writer, like everybody else. Always wanted to be a writer. So then I was like, I have time now. So I started writing a book, and I called it Drone Kings, and it's got a Secret Service protagonist in it. And I had an agent. My agent quit the industry. We started submitting. Here's the crazy thing: started submitting it to publishers right around the beginning of COVID, and got some really good feedback. Got a yes from a publisher, and I turned down the deal because of the terms. And then I got a bunch of no's, and then my agent quit the industry completely. And then I was like, okay, what do I do now? So I ended up submitting it to the Clive Cluster Adventure Writers Competition, because we talked to Boyd Morrison and doing some background information on Boyd Morrison, who was writing the Oregon Files for the Clive Cluster franchise. And they selected it as the Grandmaster winner out of during the competition. So maybe awesome, it'll get published, or maybe it'll be like so many first novels of Don's and Mark's and Meg's that just ends up in a drawer, and I write the next one. But who would be my brother? He was an actor, so he could play.
Oh, there you go.
He could play the character.
They could boss him around on the set now too.
My answer is kind of a quirky one. It's Joe and I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but Joe Manganiello. He's married to Sofia Vergara.
Amateur hour.
He would actually. I didn't picture him when I wrote it, but after I wrote it and then saw him in an interview, I was like, he would make a very, very good protagonist.
Let's see. Well, I'm now shopping for agents with a medical mystery suspense. And let's see I think Margot Robbie is who I have in mind in terms of the way physically she looks and kind of some of the characteristics. I think that I kind of had that in my head, but like someone was telling me, don't ever put that in your head, because that doesn't happen. I think.
I wonder, Mark, you actually have actors now. So when you were asked those questions, did you pick those actors for the story?
No, because my book first got optioned in 2009. So, there's been generations of actors that have come along the pike,
Guys have retired.
Guys have retired. Guys that couldn't, jump over a car now. I mean, they couldn't even get a stuntman to look enough like them to jump over a car.
I see you, Nick Cage.
Yeah, we could have all answered Nick Cage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not? Do you guys enjoy the lightning question? We do that lightning round. Do you guys enjoy that? Because it's really just stupid silliness.
It's just fun.
No, it's fun. I mean, that's what most supposedly serious author interviews don't get around to. So it's fun.
Yeah. We see the new authors who have come on for the very first time and sometimes even the debuts, and they just look at us in this deer in the headlights. Like they did not tell me this was going to be part of the interview process.
You guys asked me once, you said, the lightning round question, who's the best Canadian rock trio? And I was thinking, that's the dumbest question. I mean, it's like, of course I'm going to say Rush. But I was trying to outthink you guys. And I was like, I'm a big Triumph fan. And then I came off looking like an idiot because, of course, the answer is Rush. But it's like, I thought it was a trick question.
No. To your point, we don't care if somebody gets our inside jokes. It's like, I have a thing for the show Archer on FX. And the reason I like that show is because he doesn't care if 99% of the people watching that show get the joke he's making, because it's funny to him. The story behind that is Simon Gervais was on, and we asked him his favorite Canadian rock band because he's Canadian, and he couldn't think of anybody.
Not a single one.
No, not a single one. So we told him to answer Rush, and he thought we were messing with him. So he was afraid to answer that. So finally he did answer it.
But he did say we would. He's like, you guys will like edit that, cut it. We're like, yes, sure.
And I put it in. And I did the whole outro with the Rush theme and everything.
But
we love Simon.
I think one of the things about the lightning round that I think has been sort of a unexpected gift to the show is that we get people. When you ask them those questions, they're silly, but what happens is sometimes you get a really thoughtful answer to a really silly question, and you get to see a part of the author that they don't get to expose answering their book question. And we've had a couple lightning round questions that we were like, damn, I didn't expect that. That's the best part of the show. Let's highlight that.
Was sharp as a knife. I mean,
she's super smart.
Yeah, we love her, but she turned us down. She didn't want to come on the show. She's like, the 100th show? No, I'm not coming.
Who's that?
No, she didn't. I'm joking. Completely joking. She did not.
No.
She did not say that.
But anyway, we know you all are busy, and we are grateful for the time you spent with us. We're grateful for every time you come on the show and for writing the books that you write, because they inspire us. No joke. Every time any of you guys, if I hear one of your books coming out, I get legitimately excited, and I know my brother co-hosts do as well.
Yeah, for sure.
We're fans first and foremost. Yeah, and thank you to David Brown for.
Yeah, and we couldn't have had any success without you guys saying yes to doing this in the first place. And so, thank you to the authors, to you all, and the other authors who have come on the show, and thanks to David for coming up with this crazy notion. And none of this would have happened, and I'm not sure where we would be at with podcasts in terms of marketing if we hadn't maybe gotten that spark of an idea and you guys agreeing to come on. So thanks again for everything.
Of course. I hope you'll have us back for your 200th.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
That's what we do. We do the release of all the backstory stuff that I do record, but I don't put on the actual show.
So we're not recording.
We're going to go to the highest bidder right off the
get-go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure.
Great seeing everybody.
Congratulations, 100.
All right, boys. Hey, we had a fantastic time with some of our favorite authors on, and what a treat to be able to talk to them in their busy schedules. And so, to two of my best friends, and 2+ years now into it, we're really starting to hit our stride, it seems like. So
100th episode.
At that. So,
cheers, brothers.
Salute.
Thanks to all the viewers.
Big wind up.
What the hell is this?